celebrity last night that took place in Newport. The review of the Bulldogs stand-up appearance. I've already gotten a text from Bulldog. He was not happy with my comments earlier, but I'll give you the full review. I want to get in a couple of authors here. The book is Out of Character, Surprising Truths About the Liar, Cheat, Sinner, and Saint Lurking in All of Us. Authors David DeSteno and his partner, who should have learned by now to use a pen name. Pierre Carlo Valdesolo.
That's exactly right.
Oh, very good. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So what makes some of these celebrities tick? What makes them go bad? We've seen the Charlie Sheens in the news. They just seem to make bad decisions. Why?
Well, it's a good question, but I think one of the main points of the book is that it's not just celebrities, it's not just politicians. In fact, when we see these people, we assume there's something wrong with them, right? But the main point of the book is after 7 years and research on more than 2,000 people, we'll show you the same psychological processes exist in all of us.
But does the fame and the celebrity, a sense of entitlement, let that out a little easier?
Yeah, so there are many different variables in the situation that can pull out the good and the bad behavior. So celebrity status might be one of them. High power, high authority, opportunity to engage in bad behavior. That's definitely one potential variable that can pull out bad behavior.
Because I look at somebody like Whitney Houston, and I remember when she had her first hits, and I always use this as an example. She was the girl next door. Cute, simple. I know people who worked with her back in the day and said she was just a delight, happy to have been successful, and then went crazy. They get these riders, of what they demand as part of their contracts, and the Diana Ross, don't look at me. They start doing drugs, all of this. I think by us fawning all over them, they start to believe, maybe I am a little special.
Well, I think that's a really insightful point. What we argue is that it's really not about, good versus evil impulses in the mind. It's about short-term versus long-term ones. That is, what's good for me in the here and now, what's good for me in the long term. And, normally if we start acting like a prima donna, most of us who aren't celebrities are going to be shot down for that. People aren't going to like us. But if you're put in a situation like Whitney Houston that you're describing, when suddenly people start liking you no matter what you do and willing to tolerate whatever you do, what that does is it gives license to your more kind of short-term selfish side to do what it wants because it's not being held in check.
That's a great point. Not only do they accept it, they will defend it to other people. For those people out there that may say, hey, that's still wrong even though they're a celebrity, you'll get a lot of people that defend their bad behavior.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that we have these prototypes like the girl next door or like role models, and we expect these prototypes to act in certain ways. So people that we think are good, we expect them to act in good ways. So when they act in bad ways, so when Whitney Houston does something that's out of character, we're just totally shocked. And part of the takeaway of our book is that this idea of people embodying certain prototypes, certain categories is wrong. That's not the right way to think about human behavior. It's much more flexible.
What about the thrill-seeking aspect of it? These are people that I really think, in fact, I had this discussion with one of my coworkers, Tracy Jones, that Charlie Sheen, he can have so many different women. And he's known that throughout his career, with fame and money and power and all this, that now he's got to get involved in all kinds of cracked out stuff just to get a bit of excitement. It's not exciting anymore.
Yeah, well, when we're talking about people who are on the end of the spectrum like Charlie Sheen is, we're approaching the level of pathology there. You take a normal system and it gets a little out of whack. But for most of us, right, it's all about what can I do to enjoy the here and now. But if we do that too often, then ultimately that's probably bad for us in the long term. But sometimes it can be quite useful, and it's about finding that balance. When you alter your brain through a lot of chemicals like Charlie is doing, or when you're in situations where those normal social checks aren't there, and people will sign on to Twitter to follow your exploit, it can kind of throw the system out of balance.
Yeah, Charlie's probably a case study or studies unto himself. That's a good point. Well, let's scale it back a little bit. We got a guy who works the station here. He's at the talk show. He is an accomplished attorney. He is an accomplished businessman, has restaurants and all kinds of things, handed a lot of stuff, and does a talk show. He works weekends here, and he fills in for some of the hosts here. Last night, he went out and did a comedy show. He did stand-up comedy, even though he is not a comedian. and he's done other things. That he did an ultimate fighting one time as well. Is this somebody that is just trying to find that thrill?
So there could be a number of different explanations. So I'm not sure that it's just a thrill. Those are two very different activities. It could be a way to try and enhance a reputation, achieve some sort of status. But it seems like it's definitely the short-term interests that are guiding his behavior in these cases. And this happens across many different domains. We see people acting in ways that are just conducive to short-term pleasures at the cost of more long-term interests.
Now he's a good guy, and he's a pretty sharp marketer. But he gets involved in some of these things that I start saying, well, I don't know what. Well, I'll tell you what. The guy who follows me at noon, his name's Bill Cunningham. He also is an accomplished attorney, a business owner. The guy is succeeded at all kinds of things. I think the guy who did the comedy show last night, Bulldog, is kind of living in his shadow, saying, "Hey, I want to be more like Willie." Could that be it? Could it saying I want to be what that guy is?
Yeah, I mean, social status is a very motivating force, and sometimes people are willing to take the risk to do something that might increase their social status in the short term, and sometimes it fails miserably. And when it does, you look back and you're like, "Why did you go up there?" I didn't see his comedy act; maybe he was great, but you say, "Why did he go up there and do that?" But the few times that it works, all of that risk can put you in a position where you can actually get major benefits. And so it's always about kind of sometimes subconsciously weighing the risks and benefits and taking a chance.
Now, does that ever get destructive? Is there any warning signs I need to look at for a guy like this? Like I said, he's a good guy, but at some point, is there going to be a red flag where I have to pull him aside and say, "Listen, man, you got to be careful here. This isn't good."
So I'm not sure that there's any red flags. There might be different situations which would selectively pull out undesirable characteristics or undesirable behaviors. So it's not something about...
Well, he does have a lot of undesirable characteristics right off, but I mean, you're talking about something else, right?
Yeah, right. So our claim in the book is that everyone has this impulse to take risks. Everyone has these impulses to look out for the long term, and depending on what kind of situation you put yourself in or what kind of situation you find yourself in, they're going to selectively pull these behaviors out of us. So it's not necessarily that you're going to look for red flags from Bulldog, but given the insights that we have in our book, Bulldog could learn about what types of situations he might want to put himself in and what types of situations he might want to avoid.
All right, very good stuff. The book is Out of Character, Surprising Truths About the Liar, the Cheat, the Sinner, the Saint lurking in all of us. What about saintly behavior?
Yeah, in some senses, we don't want to get that lost. What we argue and what we show is that sometimes people can act out of character in ways that are very altruistic. And so, one of the subtle predictors we have for whether you're going to help somebody and feel their pain is how similar you think they are to you. And so we've done experiments where we simply have you wear the same color wristbands, or we have you simply tapping in time to music together, markers that basically show joint purpose. And then we have a situation where you see this person you were just interacting with, victimized in a way. And those subtle markers, wearing the same wristbands, tapping your hands in time, will make you not only feel more compassion for their plight, but exert much more effort to try and help them out. And so, the interesting part about that is compassion and altruism aren't a function only of what the person's suffering. It's about how they're related to you as well.
Before I let you guys go, I got to tell you a quick story. When I first started here, I was getting emails from some guy who is a Nazi. He's an admitted white supremacist. The guy is evil. He's socialist. I mean, he's a Nazi. And I stopped taking his emails, and I blocked him now. But I was talking to him with one of the other guys here, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I'd had conversations with him, and the guy loves classical music." And we were talking about it one day, and the guy mentions a Jewish composer and how much he likes him. And this friend of mine said, "Wait a minute, they're Jewish, and you always rip on Jews, and you hate Jews and all this." And he said, "Well, you got to draw the line somewhere."
That's interesting. So again, these types of extreme attitudes might veer more towards the pathology. But we do have a chapter in the book where we talk about just how easily prejudice and bigotry can emerge in everyone. So we all have the tendency to categorize groups up into us versus them. We all have the ability to, or the tendency to hate the out-group, to fear the out-group. It sounds like in the case of this person, it's turned into something beyond just the normal processes that govern.
I'll help you out. He's crazy. We'll just go with that. David Desteno
yeah.
and Pier Carlo Valdesolo. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
And I'll put a link to their book, Out of Character, Surprising Truths About the Liar, the Cheat, Sinner, and Saint, lurking in all of us at my blog at 700WLW.com. I'm not kidding. The guy is a Nazi. He is an American Nazi. He just constantly, when I first started sending the emails about he's anti this and that, Jews and blacks, and going down the list, just vicious, crazy rantings about stuff. Just bizarre. And stuff about, proud to be a white socialist, all of this. It's essentially a Nazi. And I was talking, it was Daryl Parks. No, not the Nazi. Daryl was the one I was talking to about this Nazi. And he says, he goes, the guy is really bizarre. He loves classical music. And Daryl knows quite a bit about classical music. And he said something to Daryl one time, and Daryl's like, wait a minute, that composer's Jewish, and he's singing this Jewish composer's praises. And Daryl's like, dude, you're crazy. You spend all this time bashing Jewish people and whatever. Oh, well, you got to draw the line somewhere. Oh, okay, great. I'm glad you draw it at being a composer. But as far as being a human being, no, you don't want any part of that, right? People are just crazy. Quote Jerry Seinfeld, people, they are the worst. All right, a review of the Bulldog Show next. By the way, if you happen to see the show, 513-749-7800, the big one, or pound 700 on AT&T. We'll do it next on the big one. Fox 19 Storm Tracker forecast. Hazy, hot, humid this afternoon. High 86. Showers by dawn. Currently 76 at the big one, 700 WLW. If you were at the Bulldog Comedy Show, there was, I don't know, I guess about 150 people or so there. 513-749-7800, the big one, and share your thoughts. In order to make sure I get this right, I'm inviting Scott Sloan to join me now. How are you?
Hello, Doc.
I want to make sure that I do an accurate representation of last night. So if I get anything wrong, maybe you can, help me out here.
Sure, I will. I'll be there for you.
Before I get started on the Bulldog Show, what was with Tracy? He shows up late, sauced, screaming about Russians chasing him and stuff. What's his paranoia about Russians now?
I have no idea. What was that about? That was the most uncomfortable part of the whole night, was Tracy just acting
sauced up.
I think maybe because the spotlight wasn't on him for a change. He was getting a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was some weird rantings about crazy Russians. You'll have to ask him this afternoon.
We're going to talk about that today at 3. Something about, I still don't understand, something about Russians stealing his identity, or I don't know.
Those Russians, you can't trust them.
Yeah,
all right, so what do you think? About 150 people there last night?
Yeah, it was a good-sized crowd. I mean, I like that room. I think it's a really good room for comedy. They do a really good job there. But it was a fact. It was what we call a friendly house.
Okay, a friendly house, meaning a lot of people knew him and know what he does. First of all, I like the Bulldog. He's a successful man. I have a lot of respect that he dreams big and actually tries things and a lot of guts. The show was not good. That's basically my review. Not horrible.
What didn't you like about the show?
The Bulldog, I thought was fine. Not horrible. Not really good. Just okay.
Right.
But that may be the ugly chick next to the uglier chicks factor. That I may be skewed because of the MC and then the warm up act were so bad that I may have just been wanting something different.
Right. Well, you know what? I think that's a really astute observation on your part. 'Cause I'll tell you what. I will give Eric. Of course, I always said Eric is sometimes. And I love Eric to death. He's a buddy. He's got more balls than brains sometimes, which is I think is actually an admirable trait. And there's a guy. He said he could care less. Succeed, fail. He's going to try it. God bless him.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people, myself included, need to be more like him. That being said, I thought his stage presence was pretty good. I mean, he was Bulldog. He was at 110%. When his stage presence was great, I thought.
I chuckled a couple of times. I smirked a little bit. I thought he was kind of a circus on stage, like he is on the air here. It was pretty much his radio show. I thought his story about his brother was good.
Commercials and more expletives. That's what it was.
Yeah, quite a few more expletives. So all in all, I'll give the Bulldog 4.5, maybe a 5. Somewhere in there out of 10. For the Bulldog.
I'm more of a purist. See, is that the way I would measure it is if you took the act and put it anywhere except in a room where a bunch of people knew him, would it translate? I think that is because maybe I'm just a purist in that sense. I'm expecting a standard comedy stand-up show.
Well, you worked in a lot of comedy clubs.
And it doesn't have to be set up punchline kind of stuff. It can be observational humor, like George Carlin, Jerry Seinfeld. It doesn't have to be the old, Shecky, Rodney Dangerfield
right.
set up punchline kind of thing. There's all different forms of comedy, but I think that the way you measure that is that if you took that show and put it in Poughkeepsie, would it work?
Do you think it would work?
No, I don't think it would.
So he's not going to do well when he heads to Sheboygan this weekend?
Well, exactly. I mean, he's playing at the Laugh Factory at the Sheboygan Holiday Inn. I don't know if that's going to do so well. So
I was a little disturbed when he got naked. I didn't understand why that was supposed to be funny. I don't know
why taking his shirt off and then doing tricks with his. Well, I can't say it on your show. But,
I don't understand why that was supposed to be funny. All in all, though, like I said, I give him credit for trying it. He was not good, not horrible, just kind of down the middle, maybe a 4.5, 5 for me. And the
thing where and the other thing too is, I thought that was pretty edgy. It was. When he did that part where he turned around and took that what was it, that Roman candle and put that down his buttocks, and it was like a Gallagher meets a Whitesnake show out in Rhode Island. I thought pyrotechnics.
I was a little worried.
I
was a little worried about that. I didn't quite understand that either. But the preacher's a fine guy. I've met him. I like him. He was horrible, painful. Uncomfortable, painful, bizarre, but he was not the worst person on stage. The MC was even worse.
I'm thinking, I don't know. He couldn't really work the microphone that well. And I've never been to a comedy show where the two opening acts, both the opener I could be the MC and the
warm up
opener, were both men of the cloth.
And I'm not a prude. I don't think it's necessarily wrong for a man of the cloth, a minister, a priest, whatever, to joke, to even use edgy humor, even swear. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. No.
And yet I was completely disturbed by the two of them and their subject matter.
Well, I think then the part where they were passing the plate around between the shows.
I didn't think that was appropriate. You hit me up on the way in,
Donations. What the hell's going on over here? So, I'm not quite sure on that whole thing. But
you guys going to discuss this afternoon?
Bulldog credit. That is something that a lot of people would never attempt to do. Stand-up comedy is very difficult, and God bless Bulldog for giving it a go.
I got the sense that Tracy liked it. Are you guys going to discuss it this afternoon?
Oh, yeah, we're going to break it down.
All right. You break it down. Excellent. Very good.
If Tracy actually remembers anything.
He was pretty sauced up in the Russians.
I think he was I think he gave himself roofies.
I'm not even
quite sure.
Maybe he did. I'm not sure if he's going to be in. I mean, if he's still scared that the Russians are following, I don't even know if he's coming in.
And he got worse after you left.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
All right.
It wasn't good.
Today at 3:06 with Sloaney and Tracy. Thank you, sir.
All right, see you. Bye.
All right, Zach and some other people want to comment. They say they were at the show last night. We'll do it next on 700 WLW. Doc Thompson on 700 WLW. I'm not being mean. No, I'm not attacking the bull. I'm actually giving it to you straight. It was about what I expected it to be. The Bulldog was not horrible. It just wasn't good. I got a clip for you coming up in just a second. Zach and Florence, am I wrong, or did you like the show?
It wasn't that bad. I thought he did a good job for a guy who doesn't do stand-up comedy for his day job, But you and Sloaney kind of took my thunder away because it's so hard to judge if he was really good or really bad because the opening act and the MC were awful.
Did I overplay that in how bad they were?
No, not at all. It was one of those things like it's so bad you don't want to leave. You want to keep watching it because it's so bad. The
train wreck, the accident on the side of the road.
Right. Those two guys were awful. So when the Bulldog came out, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Well, he was real energetic, and it was a welcome change.
Yeah, he had a great stage presence, but I think the jokes that he had were made for his audience that listens to him on the radio. If nobody knew who he was and tried that act, I don't know if a lot of people would like it or not.
Would you call it comedy superbity?
No.
Okay.
But it was funny. It was worth it.
Like I said, it was worth going to, whatever. If the opening act and the MC, if they actually had been any worse, it would have started crossing over into the so bad it's good.
It was. It was like the Troll movies. You know, remember the old Troll movies that were that bad that you have to watch them? That's what it was like. The first two guys.
I looked over at Sloaney and Tracy and Kevin, my producer, a couple of those, and just gave him the look, and Sloaney started busting up because it was so bad. It
was bad.
Right before the Bulldog came out. So you had the MC come out, do a couple minutes. He introduced the warm-up act. Then after the warm-up act, the MC came back out, did a couple minutes, and introduced the Bulldog. Before he introduced the Bulldog, he started, you know the joke about being in court and the attorney asking him for $1,500?
I knew that joke. I knew the punchline
yes.
as soon as he started saying it.
Yes, exactly. How long did it take him to tell that joke? Would I be exaggerating if I said it was 3 to 5 minutes to tell the joke? No, I thought
it was at least 3 minutes. The more, I thought I sat there for about 15 minutes when he was telling that one joke.
Right.
He said he did mention at the end, he's like, I'm not a stand-up comic. I don't ever do this. And I'm like, well, why are you doing it now? I'm not funny, so I would never be a stand-up comedian. I guess that guy just wanted to give it a chance. I don't know. But.
Well, there's nothing wrong with giving stuff a try like that or whatever. I don't applaud it. But, I mean, let's be honest. I'm not attacking. I'm just telling you how it is, you know. I'm not being mean to you. You're not a comedian. That's fine. You accept it. Let's move on. But the joke to tell people what it is, the attorney says, hey, I need $1,500, and then tells the judge, hey, the guy is perfectly innocent. They go to court the next time. The guy says, hey, the attorney says, I need $2,000. Yeah, perfectly innocent. Next time the guy doesn't have the money, and he says, judge, looks guilty to me.
Yeah, he's guilty. Ha.
Yeah, I mean, that took me 4 seconds, 10 seconds to tell it. As soon as he started the joke, I turned to Sloaney and Tracy, went, he's guilty.
Yeah,
That's all I said.
But, overall, it was a good night to go out. I mean, I don't think if they didn't know who the Bulldog was, I don't think that it would translate very well. But, I mean, it was funny if you knew who the Bulldog was.
Your night would have been – you would have enjoyed the night even more if you had been around Tracy Jones like the rest of us. Because he may have stole the Bulldog's thunder for the night as far as, our little group was concerned. Because
right, well, I saw you guys come in, and I was going to talk to you, but I didn't get to because there were so many people around. But
well, we stopped at Brothers first across the little way there. Right. And Tracy was late. Sloaney and I were there. Kevin shows up, and then Tracy rolls in all buttered up.
With his glasses on his head.
Yeah, but I mean, liquored up to the gills, and he's going on, and I'm not kidding. Something about Russians following him, stealing his identity. He was paranoid. I don't know what was going on, and I'm not making that up. He was paranoid about Russians last night. I hope Sloaney asked him about it today because it was bizarre. I tried to follow it, but he was so buttered up I couldn't follow it.
Well, I wish I would have said I was on the other side of the room that you guys were sitting on, but that sounds like it would have been just as good as the MC.
Yeah, it was pretty bizarre, but I appreciate you calling and checking in, Zach. I do have a clip last night. Here's the funny thing. There were a couple of benchmarks that I was waiting for, and I shared some of those benchmarks as I yesterday said how I thought the show was going to roll, as I gave you the little preview of what I expected to be the preview yesterday. And he did not mention Oracle status. Nobody was granted Oracle status. Nobody. But within the first, this statement was made. I'm going to play just a clip for you. And I wish I could play more, but there was just too many swear words. It wouldn't make sense. I'd have to beep too many things out. This short little clip I have was within the first 1 minute and 49 seconds.
I told Willie, I said, Willie, I think I almost had him when I was on the ground. I thought I hit him in a scissor hole.
He mentioned Willie. That's all you needed from that clip. You don't need the rest of it. Just did you hear him say the word Willie? Play it just so you can hear Willie at the beginning.
I told Willie, I said, Willie.
You see that? Within the first 1 minute and 49 seconds, he mentions Willie, I'm telling you. It was within, I think, the first 4 to 5 minutes that he started hawking his stuff. Well, he had the other guys hawk it too. Or let me back up. The other guys hawk some of the stuff. And then he started marketing some of his stuff during the whole show. So I got a text from the Bulldog. Let me share this with you. Let me see if I can pull it up. It says, "You're just a jealous expletive. Let's have a comedy competition, me and you, any place, anywhere. That crowd loved my show, and you know it." Delusional. Well, should I read? Okay. "You're just a jealous expletive. Let's have a comedy competition, me and you, any place, anywhere. That crowd loved my show, and you know it." See, the problem is I know I'm not a comedian. So I wouldn't take up that challenge. Oh, that's right. He sold T-shirts, his law, restaurant, and his Facebook. You're right. I forgot about the restaurant. I said bar. Remember I started yesterday? I said, if you want to own a bar, don't do it. No. He said if you want to own a restaurant, essentially don't do it. Hawk the Facebook. He didn't take text messages during the show. He didn't do that. And the shirts were not $20 I expected. They were $10. They were 10. So they were only 10, Doc. It was quite a deal. Doc Thompson, 700 WLW. You go to 700WLW.com. You can download the iHeartRadio app absolutely free. And that allows you to take us with you wherever you go on your iPhone as well as your iPad. Just find it at 700WLW.com. One final thing in the Bulldog show. I got an email from Brett. He said, "Doc, whose act is better, the Bulldogs or Charlie Sheen's?" I have not sat through an entire Charlie Sheen show. Mo did. He gave me some of the details. I have seen some clips online. From what I have seen, Brett, without question, I would rather be at Bulldog show. It's not even close. Even for the freak factor. Because if you go to Charlie Sheen show, you get to watch the freaks. Even with that, I think it comes down to common sense. Gun laws often come down to common sense. Unfortunately, very few people have common sense. The General Assembly did something really good yesterday. The House voted on a common sense gun legislation. And the governor will probably end up signing it. It was already passed in the Senate, and now it is passed in the House. Under this piece of legislation, gun owners will be able to take concealed firearms into bars, restaurants, and other places where alcohol is served. Not only is this common sense, it is long overdue. There should have never been a ban on it in the first place. They're allowed to take it in those places as long as they do not drink any alcohol. I don't even know why that stipulation is on it. Can I drink alcohol and carry a sharp object? Yeah. Can I drink alcohol and be around heavy, blunt instruments? Yeah. Well, all of those things can be used just to kill people, can't they? So I don't even know why you put the restriction on it about drinking alcohol. But for those people who have no common sense, people who are very emotional, the emos out there, you know the people. It's a gun and alcohol. Those things don't mix, Doc. A gun and alcohol. There were 4 Republicans in the House who voted against it. Todd McKinney of New Franklin, he voted against it. He said the issue is not about guns, but alcohol. As I said, what about everything else? Look around. What is around you right now? At your office, a stapler, a phone, a computer. Are you in your car? A bottle, your fist, something sharp, a CD, any of those things. Everything around you can, and most of them have been used at one time or another to kill people. You can kill people with anything. You can injure people with anything. And they're all around us when we drink. How about the chair, the bar stool you sit on when you drink? You couldn't pick that up and crack somebody in the skull with it? That's never been done. What about the very beer bottle that you drink out of? Conk somebody over the head with that thing? Break it so it's sharp? Mike Duffy, this is a representative from Worthington up near Columbus. He said he would have supported it. He's one of the Republicans voted against it. He said he would support it if it just allowed permit holders to carry guns into restaurants, but not into bars and strip clubs and nightclubs. He said there are always limitations to every right and freedom, and our rights generally end where somebody else's life starts. I don't play a lot of games with that. Well, he is kind of accurate. You're right, your rights do end where somebody else starts. But how does my right, as he calls it, to drink and carry a gun and be in a bar infringe upon your rights to not be shot if I don't shoot you? And he said he would have supported it in a restaurant. Well, if they serve alcohol in there, is it any better? What about if I don't carry in one of those strip clubs or nightclubs and I get all buttered up and I take somebody's skull and shove it through the window? You can kill somebody with anything, and people often have. Bill in Georgetown, you're on the big one.
Doc, your statement about the guns is ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous?
Well, you used a bar stool for an example, a beer bottle, a stapler.
Have those things been used to kill people?
Yes, but you can also defend yourself against them. You have a better chance of defending yourself against something like that rather than a gun.
That's a ridiculous argument.
That's
ridiculous.
How you say it's ridiculous?
First of all, there are many people who have defended themselves against guns with guns and without guns.
Also, you want to shoot out in a bar. You want to shoot out at the stadium.
Do you have any problem with people having fights or brawls at bars where other people get killed?
Of course I
without
do.
guns?
I don't
then
have
what's
a problem
the difference?
With guns. I have a problem with guns in idiots' hands. And if you mix alcohol with guns, you got idiots carrying guns.
Really? So if I go to a bar and somebody carries a gun in, even though it has been illegally, and they're drinking, breaking the law, and they pull out a gun and start shooting the place up, wouldn't it be nice if I had the ability to defend myself with a gun?
Yes, it would.
Or do I just have to rely on the bar stool then?
But the scenario that you're proposing there is rare to happen.
Okay.
When people get guns in their hands,
I see.
Doc,
It's rare. Okay.
People get guns in their hands, Doc. It gives them some sense of power.
So you say it's difficult to defend yourself against a gun versus a bar stool.
Absolutely. I'd rather take on a man with a bar stool than a gun anyway.
I got news for you, Bill. In every bar in America, people can and are bringing in guns illegally, even when it is illegal.
I agree.
So wouldn't it be nice if I could defend myself?
So now you're saying...
No. I'm asking you, wouldn't that be nice?
Well, yes, it would be.
Because the lawbreakers are going to break the law anyway.
The Wild Wild West all over again.
I see.
Shootouts in bars.
I see. So you would rather have me be a victim than have the Wild Wild West?
Well, I'd rather take my chances with you being the victim than have the Wild Wild West.
Absolutely. You want to know why? Because it's me being the victim and not you, Bill. That's pretty insensitive and pretty stupid. Doc Thompson, 700 WLW. Doc Thompson at 700 WLW. The new gun law in Ohio. Are you ready for guns to be around alcohol? People are just crazy on this. It's quite simple. The bad people are doing it anyway. The law-abiding citizens you don't have to worry about. They just want to be able to protect themselves. Elliot, Jeffersonville, you're on the air.
Oh, hi. I went to school and trained to be a psychiatrist, and then when I got out, I thought, wow, that was so easy. I'm going to go to law school. So I have a law degree, too. Now, they use psychiatrists when they get into issues like this. When alcohol enters the system, it changes the synapses of the brain stem. Inductive and deductive thinking are altered. Now, see, you have to go to the Internet and just type in alcohol and thinking, and you'll read all about this. So, an average person in an office finds out his wife's sleeping with the guy behind him. He gets mad, he goes home. In a bar with a gun, he shoots him. And why, if he's drinking alcohol? Because that inductive and deductive thinking, I'm going to lose this, there will be consequences, I will go to jail. Well, see, that does not take place when alcohol enters the system. That's why people die in bars. That's why they fight in bars. That's why they shoot in bars. And see, when they use us as psychiatrists to bring this to the attention of the congressmen, that's why they vote no.
So what we should do is ban the alcohol, not the guns.
Well, they ban alcohol, then there's no bars.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. We should ban those because as long as people are drinking, they're still going to be able to pick up a bar stool. They're still going to fight. They're still going to do all of those things.
Well, they've been doing that for centuries, though.
Right,
See?
right. That's what I mean.
They haven't been shooting people in bars unless they come in there with a gun illegally.
So you think this is a bad law?
Oh, it's absolutely a bad law.
Wait a minute. Elliot, you just said alcohol is the problem because people can still fight and stab each other and stuff, right?
Oh, see, alcohol and the combination of a deadly weapon is the problem.
But the thing is, guns aren't the only deadly weapon, Elliot.
Yeah, but most people live through those other weapons. They do not live through.
So as long as they're not killed, it's okay that they're assaulted.
No, see, you're altering the discussion.
No, I'm not, Elliot. I'm using what you said. You admitted it's alcohol and deadly weapons. Guns are not the only deadly weapon. Appreciate the call. Doc Thompson, home of the Reds, 700 WLW.